Here's what happened last week. I had a student who sent me her essay. She wanted me to look and give her feedback, read it, and give her my suggestions. Of course, I diligently went through the entire product that she turned in. Here's what I noticed. The reason why I wanted to address this today is in case you're sitting down and writing your personal statement, maybe you will be making the same mistake. I really, really do not want you to. I want to prevent you from making this very, very same mistake. Her personal statement or her draft was polished. It had very, very few grammatical errors. There was just some minor spellings there. It was really not badly written. The problem was that as soon as I read it, I just felt that the admissions officers will also see it and deem that personal statement as just unnecessary, not impressive at all. Now remember, they are looking to reject you. They're not looking to accept you. This is the main difference. Students really need to sit down and wrestle with this idea that when you are turning in your work to your teachers, you know that they're maybe using a rubric to score your work. Maybe they're familiar with you, with your style. You know what they're expecting. That they will be reading your work, looking for the good areas, the sections where they recognize their own teaching. They give you a good score for that. This is not the same thing when the admissions officers read your work. This is really important to understand. They're not reading your work to score it, just to be like, oh, cute. Let's just admit this student. This is so endearing. That's not what they're going to be thinking. They're looking to see who is better from what they just now read. This could be hundreds of essays a day. Then they will just simply reject you. They're looking for reason to reject you. When I read her essay and when I say that I found it simply unnecessary, it was just not at all something that I would remember. It was polished, everything seemed to kind of flow together, the sentences, the words seemed to be strung together. This same essay could have been written by 500 other students, 500 previous essays that I read that same day. One thing you need to understand here. Actually, there are three things. I'm just going to outline them for you. If you don't remember, if you do not know what it is that you're supposed to be doing, or you don't remember anything from this conversation, hopefully these three things stay with you. They are in some way positively guiding you. I sincerely, sincerely hope that that is the case. The first thing you have to remember is that when you're writing your personal statement, the ultimate way to check and see if you have produced a good piece of work, good piece of writing, is to ask yourself, can this be written by somebody else? If somebody else can say exactly the same thing with some very small different nuances of the robotics club, the winning competition, the math competition, the long nights of practicing, forget it. So many other high schools have robotics clubs. Some of them even have two. These are teams of minimum of 10 people. Some clubs go all the way to 50, depending on the school, depending on obviously the size of the school. If it is more like a STEM-oriented academy, so many students can tell exactly the same story. Just think about the competitions that you attend and the number of teams that are present. How many people make the teams? How many people are responsible for the software? How many times that exact robot is breaking or it's not starting on the spot? Then you have to jump in and you have to solve the problem. See that? I'm already writing an essay that some future engineer might be writing and thinking that this is a good personal statement. So be very careful here. The same thing goes for your grandparents, where they come from, maybe your parents, how they migrated to this country, the difficulties they found, maybe you're first generation American. So many similar situations, so many similar stories. Please ask yourself, can somebody else write this? If I remove my name from this and I give it to my best friend or my family and they read it, will they be able to identify that this truly is mine. Some people who maybe are just as you on the robotics team, they read your essay, will they recognize your signature vocabulary, your signature sentence structure? Will they be able to hear your voice as they read your essay? If somebody else can write it, then it is very generic. The second thing you have to ask yourself, when I'm reading this, can I see it? Can I visualize this? Is the setting, are the details, is the backstory, is all this so clear that the person who is reading this will not have gaps? I'm not asking the reader to fill in the gaps. I'm giving all the details necessary for them to imagine what it is that I'm talking about. I know you're probably listening and reading a lot about show, don't tell. It's very easy to say that. It is very difficult for you, I know that, to sit down and implement it. What does this really mean, show, don't tell? Here it is, I'm showing. Am I not? No, you're not. You're telling me. How do you know the difference? The difference is that when I'm reading it, or even when you're reading it, can you really truly imagine it? That means if you're telling me that I held the knife, I cut my birthday cake into equal slices, so excited that I'm going to be sharing this day with my friends. This meant so much to me after coming back to this country and my long absence. I'm just making this up at the moment. Is this showing or is this telling? Let me save you the mental exercise and tell you this is 100% classical example of telling and not showing. Why? I did not give you any details. I didn't tell you what kind of cake was that. I didn't tell you why was I so excited to share this with my friends. I didn't tell you anything about the moment. Maybe as I held the knife and I looked at the white handle that was exquisite, it pressed tightly across my fingers. This reminded me of the same birthday party I celebrated when I was 6. How much this meant to me to be back in the same place and remember this. The memories from my childhood woke something up inside of me. Maybe my hand was shaking a little bit. The cake slices were not cut very evenly. Everybody laughed at that. I once again experienced that joy of hearing everybody's voice at this very moment. It meant so much to me, more than the cake, more than the fancy preparations, more than waiting for a month for this cake to be baked and given to me, more than choosing in the fancy plates and napkins, more than I can keep going on and on and on. Of course, I'm making this up on the spot. The main reason here is for me to kind of show you how, if the moment has emotion in it, and if I'm bringing you to that visual, I'm showing you how my hand is shaking, how the smooth icing on the cake was suddenly broken in half by the sharp knife. I couldn't wait to deliver that freshly cut slice, evenly chocolatey cut slice of cake to my best friend. I looked at her eyes, on and on and on. Now, I'm not saying that in 650 words you can be so metaphorical. Of course, I understand. You have to start being like that. You have to write down that personal statement in 650 essay words. Give me 1,000. Give me 1,500 words of background story, a feeling, of that memento, of that special thing that just makes your soul zing. Give me that. Once you do, the rest can be edited very easily. You will know what doesn't belong. That is how the essay will be yours. Because only you will have that memory of the knife handle pressing across against your fingers. You feeling the bone inlay of the beautiful ornament, remembering how that same thing happened to you once before, and ever since you were wishing for it. Why is that important? Tell the audience next. Maybe that was your challenge that you're describing. That is how can somebody else write it? Are you allowing for the person who is reading your personal statement to imagine? Or are there severe gaps in your description? Now you're asking them to fill it in. That is the worst thing that you can do. The two worst things that you can do when you're giving someone your writing is to be boring and waste the reader's time. Now they're sitting down and just trying to control their mind to stay and follow your story, because as a writer, you shouldn't be boring. The second thing is I'm not talking about how when you're trying to create that excitement, or you're intentionally obscuring the scene, or you're intentionally omitting some details so the reader can stay with you and entice their curiosity. That is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about speaking about something on and on endlessly without allowing the reader to be able to imagine it, without giving them the emotion. That is what I'm talking about. So those are two very different things. Again, that is the show don't tell that everyone is. Anywhere you open and you read show don't tell, show don't tell. Nobody's showing you, everybody's telling you. That is like the worst thing you can tell. Show don't tell, don't give an example, because what you're doing is you're not heeding your own advice. The next thing that I want to protect you from is, and I see this a lot, I know that a lot of you are, instead of you writing and rewriting your drafts, you're probably sitting there and reading somebody else's essays, or what's worse, you're getting just advice from adults who are dispensing those pieces of advice out there openly without actually giving you the real deal. I have seen this, and it goes something like this. Think about what the admissions officer wants, or think about what the colleges want to hear. That is just a load of nonsense. No, your job is not to sit and think what they want to hear, because then you're in trouble. No, your job is to sit down and be who you are, flow, write, make them imagine, tell them what it is that you're all about, what makes you you. That is what you should be focusing on, not what they want to hear, because that is just a never-ending sitting guessing game that you don't have time for that, and you're wasting precious hours instead of telling them your stories. It is really important. I think the student that showed me her personal statement probably sat down thinking, that is what they want to hear from me. They want to hear about my challenges. That is how I'll describe myself. Now that I've checked all the boxes of what they might be impressed by, I'll submit my essay. That is just not the way to do it. Again, you have to sit down, brainstorm everything about that you know about yourself. Just sit down and spend some time putting down in bullet points all these things that make you you. When did that start? How? What were the first signs? Were you in some way advised to be or do something else in between? How did that feel? Sometimes you will see also advice out there that is related to following a particular formula. I'm not exactly opposed to that. I just want to let you know why. Even in my book, I do give you a formula. Now, I'm not saying follow the formula, just stick to that and you're done, period. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it could be a good way to give you a start, to allow you to see how there is a structure and how there's sort of like a logical shell. What you put inside is still largely the showing that you have to do. By no means am I saying that the formula is going to save you and all you need to do is just follow a formula. Not at all. In fact, I give you a ton of brainstorming exercises here, a lot of questions which you can answer. Once you answer these, you can just simply put them together. You can remove the question from the top. Then you will really see that the essay is writing itself. That's the whole idea. Because once you realize who you are, what makes you tick, what are your values, what can you live without, what do you have to have necessarily to live and be happy, you're starting with the big picture. Then you're slowly getting into the details. That could be very, very helpful. So they could be very useful. I have included a formula here. A lot of what I'm putting in this book actually is different strategies, because they're different, obviously, different people and different ways to tell a story. For what is appealing to one person may not be appealing to another. For example, I personally encourage some students when I work with them to begin their writing straight from the action line. Just jump in straight into the scene. If this was a movie, you open with the action, you open with a problem, you open with that most intense part of your story that just absolutely needs to make an impact. It's really opening with the action item. If you're the action kind of person, if depending on the essay and the story that we're looking into, this could be a perfect way for the action, for the opening to reveal straight away who you are, what you're all about, where you're in the midst of, and also not just revealing your personality and how you handle this intense moment, to also allow this to be the hook. So that just solves the problem right there, because sometimes students sit and be like, what should be my hook? That just really takes care of it right there. Beautiful. For some students, not necessarily, depending on the kind of writing. If this is more introspective, writing that flows a little slower pace, it is more philosophical, it reviews a problem or it focuses on a point of contention that you can elaborate on. We can hear your monologue inside. Now, that is a different kind of writing. This flows slower, more philosophical. The sentence structure will have to vary because you don't want to be boring. You'll have to vary your sentence structure where you speed up and then you slow down. You almost allow the reader to take a pause so they can understand what it is that you're pondering upon, what is the point of contention. This is not the type of essay that you will want to begin with the action straight away. Instead, you want to open with the proposition. What it is all this about? What is troubling your logical mind? Again, this is something really important to understand. Just to recap here, this needs to be written by you. No one else should be able to put their name on it. No generic words. Somewhere, somehow, this is where knowledge of grammar comes. If you're using too many indefinite pronouns, somehow, someday, one of the things, many things, what does that even mean? It means absolutely nothing. Take a look. If your essay is all about the competition, it's full of we, my team and we, no, you have too many main characters. No one else should be the main character in your personal statement. That is you. You're the main character. Everything else needs to fade in the background. It has to be you, your name very clearly. This needs to belong to you. Number 2, the advice about show, don't tell. You need to allow the reader to imagine it. There needs to be enough there for them to be able to see it, to feel it, to envision it. This is really, really important. Number 3, do not sit and think, what do they want to hear from me? Because you're wasting your time. Instead, focus on yourself, brainstorm everything you can think about that happened, that you wanted to happen but didn't happen, that you're hoping to happen. Just put bullet points down so you can understand yourself better. Next, remember, there are different kinds of ways the essay will flow. One is starting with the action. Or is it more reflective, slower pace, more about logic, more about philosophy, more about internalization, more about internal monologue? Speaking of monologue, please do not have dialogue in your writing. Writing dialogue is the hardest thing to do in writing. There's probably 1 or 2 writers in the history of our existence that have mastered it. If you really want to learn about writing, start with learning how not to write dialogue. Go and read everything you can read about writing dialogue. You will understand why I'm saying what I'm saying. Again, bullet pointing your life. It is putting down the bullet points so you can learn as much as you can learn about your own self, those special moments, the events, the challenges, the setbacks, the troubles, what created a positive outlook, the lessons that you have learned, everything that you can think about your life. Hemingway thought that he was lucky to write 1 good paragraph in a whole day. That is Hemingway. Now, do you think you and I are better? That we can just think that we'll sit down and whip it up in 1 day? No, of course not. If it doesn't bleed, it doesn't read. There needs to be so much at stake in here. It needs to show. These bullet points are going to be very, very useful to you when you start implementing all these little things in your personal statement. Some of the questions you can ask yourself: what are the details that I would normally cut from my writing because they feel too small? Or I was just recently again brainstorming with a student we were really pushing now, trying to get to the bottom of this. Somehow, no matter what questioning I had, it seemed like we couldn't get to the bottom of it until he shared 2 anecdotes of what had happened once he traveled to X place. He just shared the simplest, most natural, but most touching story about his interaction with a person there on the street, a vendor. And I was so amazed at how this one element was going to be the main golden nugget in his writing, because no one else can write it, because there was so much humanity in it. There was so much feeling. There was so much like this everyday goodness that everyone can relate to. Please do not think that something is too small to include. All of a sudden, it turns out these tiny details are all you need to include. Also, ask yourself, in the process of doing whatever it is that you're describing that you're doing in your personal essay there, was there a time when I changed my mind about this? Was there a time when I thought this could be differently done, or shouldn't be like this, or what's going on, or that's not how I planned it out? That could actually become the main part of growth in you. Again, the belief shift in your essays, in your life, in your story, in your perception, in your understanding, these are the good moments. You're looking for contrast. You're looking for shift in your writing. They read far more natural and more mature than thinking about this major disaster that happened. You jumped in with the cape and you saved the day. No, just don't do that, because that zero to hero is so forced most of the times that you don't want to be fake. You don't want to be fake. Last thing that I'm going to tell you, I'll leave you with this. This is actually very important. Please do not add names of your teachers, of your friend, of your neighbor, of your sister, and how you talk to Akash, how Neha came and gave you that thing that was the chest with the treasure chest. No, please save those names. Do not mention any names. Remove the we, remove the us. Look for those personal pronouns, because the personal essay is about you as a person. Make sure you have only one main character, which is you. This is what I'm just going to leave you right here with this. Again, if you really want to get the full scoop of, how to think about this personal statement, a lot of exercises are in here. This is available on Amazon. The copy that you see me holding, along with, I have it as an ebook. I also have it as an audiobook. So you can just sit down, plug in, and if you don't want to look at yet another book, you can just listen to the narration and just follow along and answer the questions as they come. Hopefully, that you can stop and start. That could be something that really guides you. I've titled it "The Plot Twist is You" as a reminder to you, the reader, that you are the main character in your personal statement. The plot twist need not be outside somewhere happening where you're jumping in and changing the world. No, it is you. It is the change that happens in you as you go through life. Life happens for you, with you, not to you, that you're active participant in making your story. Just the way you're active participant, the main character that is writing this personal statement now will be getting accepted in the college of choice, will be making your future the way you want it, and not leave it up to other people to decide it for you. This is the entire premise here. I also have a chapter that is especially for you, because all chapters are for you. I just opened on chapter 12, and I happen to see here my chapter 12 says, "Find your focus and sharpen your story, the formula for a standout essay." I'm actually giving you the formula which I mentioned earlier. I'm not opposed to formulas, again, outer shell. My chapter 8 is titled, "Can't Pick a Prompt? You're not alone. Here's what to do. And I'm saying this because I know a lot of you are sitting and staring at the prompts and thinking, what is my story here? Don't try to fit your story in a sentence or two. You're not the prompt. I'm giving you exactly the steps on what to do and how to ignore the prompts, and start brainstorming and flowing and outlining. Then only worry about the prompts, because think about the prompts as these cells that are just there on paper. All you have to do is just get your big personality, your amazing persona, try to shrink it down and put it in a box. No, that is not the idea. The prompt is just a path. You think about it, there are small crumbs that are left, and all you have to do is just you follow, pick up the crumbs on the way. Don't you shrink yourself into a little box. The prompt is not what you should be worried about right now. You have the big personality, the big you, the amazing person that you are. Don't shrink yourself. Expand yourself. Expand yourself into 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 words. Put those experiences on paper or on your Google Doc. You start cleaning up and looking for what stays and what goes. That's how, my friends, we get to give them exactly 650 beautiful, beautiful written personal statement, 650 words, no more, no less. We get to make our future the way we like it. I wish all of that for you. I will be back here with more. I have a lot more to offer. If you have questions, let me know. I'll be happy to answer. See you later.